work as a psychologist, and I do a lot of assessments with learners for concessions in classroom and for school placements and things like that. So for me, this has been so enlightening, because the whole remedial approach that is taken is to go to the student's level and build up from there. So what you're saying today is, with that, we're actually keeping them, at a certain level, not allowing them to explore and look at new things. And I love that. I love what it does for their self-esteem, and that there might be other things, that's making sense, which is fantastic. I find with sometimes with kids that really has difficulty just with their working memory, and it's not necessarily a maths problem. The calculator is very useful as a concession for them in tests and exams. It makes a huge difference, and then they can do same level maths, because many of them can't do that if they don't have that access to a calculator. So that's a very useful tool. And then I was just wondering if there's certain course. If there is any core skills, because I always have this idea, I'm not a mathematician at all, past the statistics that I did in my course, but I always have the idea, if a student understood like the 1 to 10 and how they grasp that concept, that they can build from there and do anything else. But I was just wondering if there's certain core skills that you think helps for them to have to be able to go further, or is it really just sort of giving them and trying and see what their brain can do with certain areas?
Yeah, look, I'd love to chat with you for hours, Karen. That's a really important question that we're grappling with. We don't have at this stage any sense that that's the case. Certainly, the more you know, the easier it is. So certainly if you know the numbers 1 to 10 and know the order that they come in, that's going to be much more helpful than if you don't. If you know more numbers and you know where they fit on a number line, that's going to be even more helpful. One of the interesting and quite intriguing things that we think we've found is that learners with Down syndrome also have dyscalculia. And this is a very specific, as you would be aware, I'm sure, brain, possibly of brain origin, a deficit in the way the brain functions and thinks about number. We find this because people with Down syndrome exhibit the same sort of characteristics that's in the general literature around dyscalculia. And there aren't any studies of MRI brain imaging of people with Down syndrome yet. One day I hope there will be. But at this stage, we think that's the case because people like, and partly where this hypothesis came from was watching my own daughter, that she can do quite sophisticated mathematics. It's astonishing the sorts of mathematics her teachers taught her. She could factorize quadratics. She could find solutions to curves. She could do remarkable things. And yet to this day, like she said to me in the shops today, she got meat, $8 for one packet of meat, $8 for another packet of meat. And so she said, so that's $9. I was like, oh, no, it isn't, darling. No. and you sort of think, all right. So we can't with any certainty say you must have certain things. However, of course, the more you know, like the more tables you know, that's better. But if you haven't got those things, a calculator is that very important prosthesis. And, it's helping the body do what it can't do so they can go on to do other things. And so we don't actually know how many kids in our classrooms have dyscalculia, but I guess I didn't even know about it. And it's only been talked about and put into the literature in recent years, but it is something that we should never give up on trying to help people get a sense of number, but we shouldn't keep flogging it.
I just want to quickly add one more thing. Something that I think we've always seen as a negative is that many of the students they get concessions and they're doing their own maths programs with those ones that's within the mainstream schools, that's not in special schools. But then at the end of the year, they have to do the curriculum paper and basically fail it to prove that they need to stay on their own, curriculum. And it's always been quite a negative thing. Why are we putting the kids through this? It's hard for them. They know they can't do it. But I actually now, after what you're saying, think that the teachers can use that sheet to go through to see what did they get right and what can they do, and maybe build on that and see what of the age appropriate skills is. So I'm going to definitely take a different take in terms of making recommendations for that, to say, go and look at the one that they had to write that they failed, but find those golden nuggets that they could do and build on that in terms of their skills. That's very helpful. Thank you so much.
And also, when they're doing those tests, they should have the adjustments that they've had in learning. So that could be something to think about too.
Thank you.
Wonderful. I'd love to hear how that works out. You let me know.